Oh, hello, this is John Zimmer with Kenpo Buki Senjutsu. I'm going to show you a few knife ways in which you can use a knife. And there's a few of the weapons that I will demonstrate somewhat of. I don't need the glasses now. Again, John, Kenpo Buki Senjutsu. The concept today is how to use a knife. Now, understanding we're not knife experts or any improvised weapon expert, but we are martial artists. We do have some training in some weapons, and some of us more than others, but that doesn't mean any of us cannot pick up a weapon and use it in an improvised fashion in a way that we're used to fighting with already. So a Kenpo style is in open tournaments where you try to get points on somebody, or in street fighting. I've been on the doorman in a bar in my youth, so I have plenty of experience with real fighting also. But bottom line is, hopefully not so much with weapons. Weapons are pretty much a final type of deal if somebody kills you or you end up killing somebody else, and you may have deeper legal problems. But bottom line, if you're using whatever method in self-defense only, you have a reasonable chance. So you never draw a weapon ever or brandish a weapon ever unless you are being attacked with lethal force. So you have to believe it's lethal force. So getting beyond that, I've already talked about what self-defense is and and when you should defend yourself, so we're not going to do that here. So this is a training knife. It's about a 3-inch knife, and since it's a training knife, California doesn't have any requirements on it. But if this was a real knife and I flipped it open like this in California, it would be illegal. But say it didn't open like that. Say I opened it like this, and I wasn't able to flick my wrist. Then I have a knife, and you're wondering, well, how do you use it? Okay, well, the first thing you got to understand is if somebody has a knife on you or some other weapon, distance is your friend. You do not want to depend on self-defense techniques, controlling a weapon, going in, countering, keeping him from getting a weapon. You don't want to do any of that stuff if you have to. And yes, Kenpo, like every other martial art, has knife, club, gun defenses, but why would you ever want to use them? As soon as you're inside somebody's distance trading blows, they can get you as easily as you can get them. So the thing that we tend to stress here in KBS is initial movement and critical distance. So if somebody has brandished a weapon, or he has overwhelming force and you're about to be dead, you pull your knife out, get it ready for fight. And the things to remember here is you don't want to hang it out in front of you like this if somebody else has a weapon. Why? Well, it's true you're threatening him, and that's good, but then he can do a little manchete, or a hand or a knife, or hand or upper or lower arm cut, and if you're no longer able to grip your knife, well, then you've just lost one of your weapons, and hopefully you can switch it over and use it like that. But you don't want to hang it out here, is what I'm trying to say. The other interesting thing you can do is initial movement. Instead of a back knuckle, eye shot, half fist, punch, whatever you're going to do, all of a sudden you've gained yourself more distance than if you had your eye shot alone. So you can do a quick stab in the eyes or the throat, and that will tend to put you in a good position in altercation. If you have more than one, the people aren't going to want to mess with you if the first one you messed with got hurt. The other thing is, do you want to stab, or do you want to depend on this kind of knife fighting technique where you're trying to play patty cake with the knife blades? You're trying to block with this little tiny 3-inch blade. I would say you don't want to stab. I mean, you don't want to slash. There's nothing wrong with slashing, but slashing takes longer than a stab. So if you can get out of the mindset, yes, I have to stab, I have to slash somebody to be effective in a knife fight, you'll have a little bit of a better chance. Okay, what are some other type of knives? You have the medium or almost medium range knives. Yeah, I guess this is medium range. What is this, about 5 or 6 inch blade? This would be equivalent to a K-bar. By the way, I have like a 3.5 inch blade here. California, it has, you open it with this blade here, and that's legal in California. And these type of weapons are very, very comfortable to have. You also have your traditional buck knives. You can't really open that very easily. You can't flick it open at all. See, you can't do that. So you pretty much have to do that. Something else you can do with the knife is you can use it a little bit like a yarwara stick and hit with the edges before it's open. If you're having to beat down a pit bull that's trying to bite your dog, you know, that might be a thing to try first. You have other smaller type of blades that you can also open that would be okay with stabbing. And then you have these little tiny knives. Little tiny knives are a bit different, but it's better than no knife. And what I'm trying to say is something like a post office, if the blade's less than 2.5 inches, I think you're allowed to have it. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. But this can get into places where you can't have knives normally. And you can put this against your hand, curl it around, and you can use that as a knife also and give yourself an advantage. Or in the case of this little tiny one, it has a little tiny assisted, and you could use that also. So enough on these little tiny blades. You have the medium blades. Especially with the medium blade, if you find yourself having to defend yourself and somebody's coming at you and you're fighting for your life again, this would be relatively easy to take their leading hand out that has whatever weapon they happen to have. And you could use this really easily in a lunging attack, getting the heck out of the way. Some examples of this is a K-bar. This is the type of knives the Marines used for a long time. Holds a knife's edge. Stiletto. This is like a first World War I type of knife. Or not World War I, World War II, I believe, but it was the first Canadian, joint Canadian U.S. Special Forces. They use this type of knife, and this is kind of a really cool knife. You can hit it with this edge, you can hit it with this edge, and it's made to just be a tool of war. Of course, we don't want to sneak up on somebody and slit their throat. That's not self-defense. You have the Kukuri, or the Gurkha soldiers use this, and all over, but this is kind of a thing. This one you can slash a little bit, and it's actually made to do that. So I would still want to, at distance, first be engaging like that, and then maybe following it up with a little slash. And then you have your medieval daggers. This is a size of a medieval dagger. Notice it's about the same as a machete almost. And this type of knife You still don't want to do this with this type of knife. It's not very heavy, whereas the kukuri, it was a little bit of heavy. You can slice down on that. But you still want to use your distance, at least for KBS. You're not necessarily going to be an expert in every knife style. You're just going to be able to use it. Now, a real medieval dagger, it's nice and heavy. It weighs about 1.5 pounds maybe. But it's not really a slashing weapon. You would want to use distance. I kind of like this brass end here, just holding it in my hand. And one of the things I could do very easily is get a little more distance. Now you have the shorter swords. This is a training weapon. It's not sharp anywhere. Now this kind is one of the first ones that you could legitimately slash if you want to. And it's a little bit of a curve, but you can still very easily do this. Now if you're not an expert in these knife type of fighting styles, you could still be effective against somebody who is by fighting on the outside and just covering a little bit whatever style you're used to fighting with. That was the point I was trying to make by showing you this. And of course, there is the dreaded machete. And no one really should, I mean, obviously this is made to hack, but I mean, you could do a little bit of a stab with a knife like this. Now, if it was in my hands and I was fighting for my life, that's how I would be using it. I wouldn't be getting in closer and hacking because I'm vulnerable here. Now I kind of like a cutlass because you can do all of the sword fighting techniques. Now, if you happen to already be a fencer, historical fencer, you know how to use it. But even if you don't, you could still do somewhat covering. You have some hand protection, so you can stick it out a little farther in front of you, and you can still get the distance. So, what have I tried to tell you in this video? Let me put this away. What have I tried to show you in this video? That you got to be a little bit creative. You don't have to be an expert in every kind of weapon, but you have to be able to look at the weapon and see where your advantages will be at your level of fighting. And even if you run up with an expert at those type of weapons that's trying to kill you, you still have a game plan that can work. Anyway, this is John, KBS out. Thank you.